Yeah, hello guys. Basically, my name is Arti Jindal, and today we are basically going to learn about NAT gateway and Bastion. As you know, in the last class, I have already explained you about the core networking, okay, and what is a router, what is a switch, what is a DHCP server, what is a private IP, what is a public IP. I think I have already explained all of these concepts in the last classes. So let us just recap. As you already know that, as you already from now on, the moment when we talked about VPC, the moment when we say VPN, the moment when I say home network, right? It means the same thing. Okay, and as you already know that within our network, switch is basically a device which basically allow the connection between two of the devices within your network. That means within your network, if any of the two devices want to connect with each other, okay, then they can only communicate through switch. And when you divide your bigger network into smaller network, those networks are called your subnets, right? And each of the subnet has its own route table, right? And each of the route table actually has an entry that if any of the devices within that particular network, if they want to connect to the outside world, then they can only connect through router. That means this particular record is automatically there in your subnet. Due to that reason only, all the devices within your particular subnet is able to connect to internet or the outside world. So what if I remove this entry? What will happen? Okay, in this case, suppose what will happen if I remove this particular entry, then in this case, what might happen is uh, that your internet connectivity will be lost. That your internet connectivity will be lost, right? In these cases, the right now when this particular route table has this particular entry, in these cases, this subnet is also called as a public subnet. Okay, why? Because people from the outside world is able to connect, and people from the inside world can also go out. Okay, and the moment when we particularly delete this particular entry, automatically my this subnet becomes a private subnet. Okay, automatically it becomes a private subnet. Now nobody from this particular device can go to internet. Okay, that means connectivity to the router is actually lost from this particular subnet, right? Connectivity to the particular router is caused from the subnet. But now, suppose you have actually, the moment when you do, but the local connectivity will always be there. That means if this device want to communicate with this particular device, automatically the local connectivity will always be there, which is also known as local route. Okay, this connectivity will always be there. There will be no effect of the deletion of this particular record and the local connectivity, because by default devices within the particular network can always communicate with each other via switch. Okay, using the private IPs, because all the devices within the particular subnet, whatever the IP that get assigned to them are the private IPs. Okay, the only thing when this entry was deleted, that means the public IP was also removed somehow, due to which internet connectivity is also lost. Okay, so these are the cases that happens now. But if you have a require, say within the say there could be scenarios that you can actually divide your bigger network into multiple subnet, right? And if you study about the best security practices in the networking world, what is happening is you always try to make your network as much private as you can. Okay, so that why we try to make our network as much private, because so that people the attack on the devices within our particular network should be reduced, or I can say it could be curtailed down to as low as possible. So that is the reason we try to make our devices as much private in as we can. Let's say suppose we are having a lot of subnet within our particular bigger network. This is our big network, and within this particular bigger network we might have multiple subnet, right? And inside multiple subnet, there will be multiple devices that will be there. Okay. Now, say suppose if we delete the, as you know, each subnet also has its own route table. Okay, and what happening now? Suppose if I delete this similar kind of entry from whole of the route table, automatically all your route table will become a private subnet. Now, so what happens is now suppose if there is a requirement that we want people now suppose there could be also there suppose this particular big network is actually launched in Azure. Say suppose if it is launched in Azure and it is your virtual private network. Okay, it is a virtual private network. Okay, now what is happening is over here, there could, as I told you, there are multiple subnets as of now, right? And in that particular subnet, say we have we are having multiple VMs inside it. Now, for one of the VM, we actually want to download Python so that we can actually do the Python coding inside that particular device. How will it be possible? As you know, that connectivity to the internet is lost, but we have a requirement that we want to basically download the Python inside it. As of now, there is no mechanism through which we will be able to download the internet. The only one of the mechanism could be either somehow you basically plug in a pen drive, but as you know, in the VM you cannot plug in a pen drive, right? So that situation is also not possible, right? In this case, what is happening is I somehow want an internet connectivity to the outside world. Okay, so instead of making whole of my subnet public, what I can basically do is I can make one of my subnet as a public subnet. That means in the record of the route table, automatically I will attach this record back to this particular route table. So what will happen is automatically the moment when I attach this particular subnet to this particular entry, automatically this subnet of mine will have an interconnectivity with the router now. And as you know, all the devices within this particular network can communicate with each other via switch. In this case, what is happening is we also we also launch one more device called as a NAT gateway. Okay, we also launch a device called NAT gateway. And what does NAT gateway says is that in the case of NAT gateway, people from the outside world cannot connect in. That means if somebody, suppose if one of your device also has a public IP, okay, and if anyone from the outside world try to connect with me, then I will not basically allow it. But if this particular guy wants to connect to the outside world, say www.google.com, okay, then I will allow it. So NAT gateway is basically a device where this particular device is a source and this is called as destination, right? So I can say NAT gateway is basically a device or a tool which says that people from the outside world can go out, but people from the inside, people from the inside world can go out, but people from the outside world cannot come in. So this is what NAT gateway is called, right? So the moment, and we always launch a NAT gateway in a public subnet. Why? Because now what will happen is, suppose, as you know, by default, all the devices within that particular network is actually having a default connectivity with each other via switch. So if somehow that means now in this particular route table, what I can do is if I basically want to download the Python, okay, so I can make a entry into this particular subnet that if I want to connect to any network in this whole world, instead of traveling through the router, I want you to travel through the NAT gateway. Okay, instead of traveling to the router, I'll create a record to travel through the NAT gateway. In this case, what will happen is now automatically this particular device will have an internet connectivity. That means now if I try to download Python, okay, I can download the Python now. But still, if somebody from the outside world, if they try to do SSH, they will not be able to connect with it. Okay, so this is what is also called as SNATing, source network address translation, where this is your source and your destination was python.org. Okay, org, right? Because you are actually downloading Python from this particular website, and this is called your destination. Okay, this is what is called as NAT gateway. Okay, but in this case, all your subnet will remain private to each other. This is what NAT gateway tells you. That means if you basically want that out of multiple subnet, if you want to, if you do not want that all your devices that people from the outside world can come in. Okay, but you still want to give an internet connectivity. So in that case, what you can do is you can actually uh, route the traffic through your NAT gateway. That means people from the inside world can go out, but nobody from the outside world can come in. Okay, this way you achieve the security. That means even if any of the hacker or even if there is any kind of a malicious attack that try to happen within your particular network, that will not be possible. Why? Because your network will not allow any kind of SSH or any kind of remote connection to your devices within that particular server. Okay, so this is what NAT gateway is doing. Okay, similarly now you have an alternate requirement. Okay, where you want to give an outside connectivity by making most of your subnet as a private subnet only. Okay, so here the concept of Bastion host come into picture. Okay, there the concept of Bastion host comes into picture. So what is a Bastion host is, let me just tell you. Suppose you are having two subnet. One is your private subnet and other is your public subnet. Okay, and other is your public subnet. As I already told you, the public subnet are those subnet. Okay, which is public subnet are those subnet which is actually connected to the route table. That means in the route table of the subnet, the moment if some in the route table of the subnet, if somebody is having that, if they want to connect to any network in this whole world, you always have to travel through the router. Okay, so the moment when you create this record, your subnet automatically becomes a public subnet, and people from the outside world can also come in, and people from the inside world can also go out. But if anyone want to do the remote connection, they can do, but they always need a public IP. Remember, guys, if anyone who wants to connect, even if your subnet is a public subnet, your device always need a public IP that needs to be attached to your device directly. Only then somebody from the outside world can come and connect to you. Okay, a dedicated public IP needs to be there. Otherwise, nobody will be able to communicate with you. Always remember one thing. Okay. Now, suppose now if you have a requirement that there are two subnets as of now where both these subnets are actually a private subnet. Now, you can assume a scenario now, something like this, that there is a big network, and inside that particular network you are having a two subnet. Okay, subnet A and subnet B. Okay, and in that case, currently both of your subnets are called as a private subnet, right? Both of your subnet is called as a private subnet. That means you are not having an internet connectivity to the outside world, right? You're not having any connectivity to the outside world, right? But you actually have a requirement where you want from people from the outside world can do the SSH to you, but you still want that all of your subnet remain private in nature. That means no, even if that means whatever the devices that is there in each of your subnet, you want that they should be private in nature. Okay, that means if somebody try to directly connect with them, they will not be able to connect with them. But you also want people from the outside world can come and connect to you. Okay, they are the role of the Bastion's host come into picture, where what we will do is we will actually launch a device, okay, which will have a public IP assigned to it, okay, which will actually have a public IP assigned to it, okay, and this particular Bastion host, okay, will have and the sub in whichever subnet this is actually launched, that particular subnet will become a public subnet. Okay, this subnet now will become a public subnet where in the entry of this particular subnet, we create a record that if anyone from the outside world wants and come to connect to you, they can come and connect to me via router. Okay, and this will also have an internet connectivity, and a dedicated public IP will also get assigned to one of my device over there. Okay, now as you know, by default, if by default all the devices within the particular network can communicate with each other, right? The local route will always be there, no matter whether your subnet is a private subnet or a public subnet. In this case, now suppose I sitting at the client side, what I will do is I will, if I try to do SSH to this particular system, it is possible. Why? First of all, I have a public IP, right? Second, I also have an internet connectivity, right? By that means somehow if I'm able to reach to this particular device, and now from this particular device using the private IP of each of these devices, if I try to connect with each other, I will be able to communicate. Why? Because the local connectivity is always there. In this case, we have achieved one requirement that now if I try to do the SSH to this particular devices also, I can actually do the SSH connectivity or a remote connectivity to each of my devices within the particular network. This in this case, this particular device will be known as a Bastion host. Okay, and whatever the subnet that you have, this particular subnet will be known as a Bastion subnet. Okay, so this is what Bastion subnet. That means if you have a requirement that you want to give them remote connectivity to any outside people without making your private subnet a public subnet, without making the other subnet as your public as a public subnet, if you want to give if you want to give a remote connectivity to the outside world, you can achieve this through the Bastion subnet. Okay, so this is called as a Bastion subnet. Now, from my laptop using the public IP, if I connect to this particular laptop, in this case using the private IP, I will be able to connect with this particular devices via SSH using their private IP. So this is what Bastion host is on. Now, many of you might have a confusion. Then, what is the difference between NAT gateway and NAT gateway and Bastion host? Now, most of you might get confused between both of these terms. Okay, so let me just tell you the difference. What NAT gateway say is that in your particular network, if you want that all of your particular subnet and all the devices within the particular subnet want to have an internet connectivity instead of diverting your traffic to the router, what I will do is I just want an internet connectivity. That means I want to basically travel to internet, but I don't want people from the outside world to come in. In that case, we'll use the NAT gateway. That means instead of routing my particular network through the router, what I'll do is I will transmit it to the NAT gateway. But internally, NAT gateway uses the router only to the connectivity to the outside world. That is also one of the things. So this is what NAT gateway is all about. And in this case, what happens if anyone is trying to do the SS, if anyone is trying to connect remotely to you, then they will not be able to connect with you. Okay, so this is what NAT gateway is about. And Bastion subnet, if you Bastion subnet, what Bastion subnet is that you want that all of your subnet remain private in nature, but you want people from the outside world can come and connect to you. Instead of making whole of your subnet as a private subnet, make only one subnet as a public subnet. And if you launch a particular device with a public IP assigned to it, then in that case, somehow if I'm able to reach to the device, then using the private IP of each of the devices, I can directly communicate with them. This is what Bastion is on. Okay, in this case, in this case, what happens is, so even if all these devices are there in multiple other subnets, these subnets will remain private in nature. Okay, and if anyone from the outside will, if they try to directly attack on these devices, they won't be able to attack. Why? Because all of these are private in nature, and this one is having a private IP. And I already told you that if using your laptop, if you try to connect to any of the device which has a private IP, you can never connect. You always need a public IP. Okay, and also you need an internet connectivity. Without these two things, you cannot connect with anyone. Okay, so this is what is wrong. Thank you. Please let me know if you have any kind of confusion. Please let me know. Drop your comments in the comment section. I will be more than happy to resolve it. Or please don't forget to like and subscribe my channel for such more informative videos. Thank you.